Right.
Now let's move to our next discussion now.
Yeah.
From past struggles to present day discontent, history has shown that South Africa is largely a society of people with strong views on economy and politics.
Yes, and they're ready to fight for their views.
Exactly, any day, any time.
Let's see that report.
Now dubbed the proverbial cat with 9 lives, President Jacob Zuma has survived yet another vote of no confidence 8 times in his 8th year in office. The president in his victory speech said that the African National Congress Party, ANC, was united and the opposition could not take power through parliament.
The ANC was voted by the overwhelming majority of the masses of this country. No party has ever received such a number.
But his victory didn't come without a fierce battle. The debates were centered around allegations by the opposition that Zuma's administration was corrupt.
We must at all times respect the wish of the people. And that's why we are here to make it very clear that ours today is not against the ANC, but against the father of Duduzane.
His supporters in the parliament countered that with the argument that the opposition is seeking to topple the ANC. His fate hung in the balance with the possibility of his tenure coming to a sudden end as the lawmakers opted for secret ballots. With 249 seats, it would be a hard sell to vote Zuma out, as the opposition's 151 seats meant it needed 50 ANC lawmakers backing them for the no-confidence vote to pass. A total of 384 parliamentarians voted, with 177 supporting the vote of no confidence. More than half of the voters opposed the motion, while 9 lawmakers abstained, handing Jacob Zuma another hard-fought victory over the raging opposition in South Africa.
All right, while President Jacob Zuma emerged from the vote of no confidence victorious, another thing worth mentioning is the fact that the results were closer than expected.
Now, a difference of 21 votes. Now, about 30 ANC members of parliament sided with the opposition and voted against Zuma.
But what does the future hold for the African National Congress towards the 2019 elections, especially as the party suffered a major electoral setback when it lost local polls in Pretoria, Johannesburg, and of course Port Elizabeth last year?
Yeah, joining us to discuss this via Skype is the CEO of Diaspora PR, Jermaine Sanwo-Olu. Jermaine, it's good to have you join us right now. Good morning.
Thanks for having me. Good morning to you.
Right. Now, opposition EFF leader Julius Malema, on the floor of the parliament, put forth an African proverb saying that when you want to eat an elephant, you do it bit by bit. Now we see how they've been making progress. This is the 8th time they're putting forth a vote of no confidence on the president. What do you see going forward? With this progress they're making?
Well, they are actually making a lot of progress right now. And as I said, you know, that you eat an elephant bit by bit. And that is what they have successfully been able to do over the years. As you rightfully said, this is the 8th vote of no confidence that President Zuma survived. And like a cat that they say has 9 lives. Who knows if it will be his last life? But as you can see, the majority, even 30 people from the ANC actually voted against President Zuma, and 9 people actually abstained from the whole House Parliament there. So that shows that people are beginning to have a change in their rotation, change in mind towards this president who has actually made the South African economy, South African unity actually suffer over the years. But let's see how it goes, and let's see how successful they will be coming up to the 2019 elections.
Indeed. Well, will the ANC come out of this stronger or even weaker? Some have said that Zuma's no-confidence victory may just end up weakening the ANC, especially the ANC that we identify with Nelson Mandela.
Exactly. The ANC is, Africa's oldest and most known freedom liberation party through the Nelson Mandela times. They did a very, very great work. Now, coming up to now, President Jacob Zuma, they've actually suffered a big blow to their image, to their reputation, having someone that they put as a leader, Jacob Zuma, someone who is embroiled in corruption, who was forced to pay back millions of dollars because he spent that money, state money, to renovate his own personal property. He sacked recently his finance minister because there was allegations to ties to what they are doing, financially preparatory to what they are doing with the Gupta business empire. So we are seeing this man that is actually not just denting his own image, but actually denting the image of the party. Now, Section 50 of their constitution allows a change of the House of Parliament, and that the president has to dissolve the whole parliament if the members of parliament actually vote to dissolve it. And that is what the DNC, who is led, their chief whip, Jacob Matemba, actually said that is their next move. They just put it into the parliament. They passed a motion about it yesterday, Thursday, in the parliament to ensure that there's not just a removal of him since they failed on that one. They now want to cause a more like a regime change whereby everything is going to be changed. So South African opposition is actually trying very hard to say that we're not just focusing on Zuma. We don't have a Zuma problem. We actually have an ANC problem, and that is what Mr. John Stein Hussein of the chief whip of the DNC actually said.
All right, now with about 30 ANC MPs voting against Zuma, is it becoming clearer that President Jacob Zuma is becoming a liability on the ANC?
He's absolutely a liability on the ANC's image, as I said, and 30 people, it may seem small right now, but that shows that people are getting more confident. This was the first secret ballot that the South African parliament actually had. The others were open, so you had to be accountable and show loyalty to your president and to your party. But if they have another one, I'm sure more people will actually vote. We know that only by 21 was a very, very slight, very, very small margin that they used to actually win. We know that if it happens again, possibly they could actually suffer a bigger loss because the international economy, the rand has actually dropped. You understand, right now there's so much frustration in the country. You see racist and xenophobic attacks carried out in South Africa. Nigerians have been victims of that. A lot of things have been going on in the country, which was first seen as the pride of Africa, being a first world nation, so to say, in a third world continent, a developing third world continent. So let's see how it goes. But we really believe that this man must actually change his ways, or is actually going to affect the country and also his party, definitely.
But of course, some of the things you just mentioned, xenophobia, corruption, allegations against Zuma don't seem to be strong enough to actually get Jacob Zuma out of government, saving him. What exactly do you think is Zuma's staying power? Is it that South Africa officially now is a country that is permissive of corruption, the way we know it?
That's quite interesting. Well, I'm sure many South Africans will want to believe that they are not so corrupt, but the reality now is that it is not just the South Africans who have a say, it is the lawmakers. Now, the question now is that do South African lawmakers actually represent the voice of the people, or are they just playing to settle their own pockets and also just settle their own political career? Because it seems, as you said, nothing can take this man out. But, they said every day for the chief, but one day for the owner. Not calling him a chief in any way, but the fact now that he has had his way 8 times. Let's see if the 9th time may be his downfall. But the fact is that South Africa is an upright nation, and they actually, hopefully in the 2019 elections, they will show their uprightness and their decision to have a transparent, a credible, and an upright leader voted in, and they should ensure that President Jacob Zuma does not have a hand in actually choosing a successor, because that will lead to even more disaster.
All right, Jermaine, let me create a scenario here. Although we know the president has survived this no confidence vote, but if we turn the table, just in our imagination, and he was voted out, what does the Constitution say? Who is supposed to replace him? Is there going to be another election, or the vice president will just step in, or the entire cabinet is supposed to go down?
Well, I want to believe what happens like in the UK and other parliamentary systems will also obtain in South Africa, unless they have a different system there, whereby if a vote of no confidence is actually passed against a certain leader, the party would actually need to have a successor that will come up from within his rank to actually show leadership and take leadership of the party. We saw that happen during the time whereby David Cameron actually stepped down because of the Brexit vote in the United Kingdom. We saw Theresa May was elected, you understand, in a democratic way within the party to actually be the leader. And I believe that is what will happen in the South African setting. They actually want a new leader. They want a new person that will take over the party. And let's see if that actually happens. Because again, as I said, you know, that they've already passed a motion yesterday to ensure that the whole parliament is dissolved. And if that happens, there will have to be a new election for new parliamentarians, and also ultimately 2019 is close by. There will be a fresh election that would elect a new president democratically from all the parties that exist in South Africa.
Of course, by December, there will be another election to choose a new chairman for the ANC. Now, let's talk about what how this whole process went on. The secret ballot was used for the first time in this no confidence vote. Do you think there's a link between this secret ballot and Zuma's survival this time around?
Yes, it's both ways. The secret ballot actually helped those people who actually had displeasure with Jacob Zuma and who actually voiced their displeasure through their votes because it was done secretly. No one saw them actually voting. They went out there and did it. And now Jacob Zuma, I think, is just playing on his last life, to be honest. You know, people are showing more displeasure with his type of governance and with his style of leadership. And I believe the time is coming whereby he's actually going to be kicked out of governance, either democratically or through the parliament, through this no confidence vote. Because our president since 2009 actually survived 8. That is a terrible record. So every year your fellow parliamentarians are displeased with you and they keep trying to vote you out. That shows that there's something wrong in leadership. And I believe that if another secret ballot is done, more people will be more confident to actually vote against him, even from the ANC, because it shows that there are still some people who have principles that align with the Nelson Mandela's type of leadership who exists in the party, but it's just right now putting their political career aside and saying we want to put South Africa's future in the forefront rather than our own personal gain.
Now, with the incremental momentum the opposition parties are gaining, with the success and victory they got in the last municipal local election, the EFF and the DA seem to be gaining more grounds by the day. But let's project a little further. Political analysts are saying that it's possible that next year there's still going to be another vote again, no confidence vote. Whether Zuma survives or not is another thing altogether. But what kind of South Africa do you see without an ANC being the leader? What kind of country do you envisage without the ANC being the coordinator of governance?
Well, a South Africa that will be a bit more liberal, a bit more tolerant. But some people too fear that with the kind of opposition that they have in South Africa that are very outspoken and show some controversial kind of views that may seem to be a bit racist, that if they come into power, would that actually do good for the country? But I believe that the Democratic Alliance, you understand, and EFF actually have a role to play in ensuring that democratic values are actually pushed out and actually upheld in South Africa, knowing their history. I believe that if the South African people are given a chance to vote and actually given an opportunity to go to the polls in a very, very, very open and transparent elections, they will actually vote for someone who is credible. They won't just look at the party, but they will look at the person who can actually inspire the nation, who can lead the nation without controversy, but would actually stand up for what is right and, you know, unite the black, the white South Africans, the foreign nationals that exist in South Africa, and not just stick to their comfort zone of the former late Nelson Mandela's party and say that anyone that party produces is good, as we have seen that 199 people in that party actually voted for a character such as Jacob Zuma, whose credibility has actually been tarnished over the years. So they're actually looking for a new party with fresh ideas, fresh values. And if the ANC can rebrand, that's well and good. But the other parties will actually pick a candidate that will actually do that effectively and restore the dignity and the strength and the hope that South Africa brings to the rest of the world, being a very developed nation in Africa.
All right, of course, Jamin Sowolu, people are still wondering whether South Africans can really still trust the ANC. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time and, of course, your insight as always.